Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to Series 2 of Hurtwood Beyond the Hill. And today we're starting a little bit differently because we're starting in one of the rooms here in our music tech department. That's because this room really sparks the interest and the passion of our guest on the show today. He is a Tony Award nominee British composer who has brought stories to life both on screen and on stage. We are so pleased to have him back with us because since he's left Hurtwood, he's hit all the right notes. We're going to find out how this school really was the perfect soundtrack to his career. So we are so pleased to welcome back to the Hill British composer and ex-Hurtwood student Alex Baranowski.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing? You okay?
Very good. It's lovely to be back here. It's amazing. It's coming through these walls brings back lots of memories.
Well, I was going to say, when have you been back since you left us? Because I think you left us in 2002, if my research...
Is that right?
That's what I've been told. So
I was hoping it was a bit... yeah, no, it's... I have been back a few times.
Oh, have you?
It's been lovely. I did a couple of chats to some students.
So I was going to say, walking back and into this room, this room means a lot to me because this is my first ever, when I had my interview with Cosmo to get into the school, it was in this room.
Yeah.
So things feel very different to me, but is the school the same as it was?
So it looks like nothing's changed.
Really?
In a really wonderful way. I think it's just, it's a wonderful place.
It really is a wonderful place, and we're going to talk about it and how you kind of left us to do more incredible things since. But take me back to pre-Hurtwood, like a young Alex. My question to you is, was music always the passion, being creative? Or did that, I guess, start when you got here? What's the timeline?
I've always loved music, and my granddad was really musical. My first musical memories was him playing this massive accordion to me when I was tiny, and so I sort of learned, and he paid for some violin lessons when I was 6 and piano lessons. So I'd always done music, and I ended up at a grammar school and in Bournemouth for sort of for the first 5 years, and I've sort of realised how uncreative that was.
Right. Okay.
How sort of being not particularly academically minded, but sort of managing to get to grammar school, but so sort of at the bottom of that. Right, so I felt like I was always struggling with academia, with all that kind of stuff, and actually finding out about Hurtwood was just amazing. Just actually being able to, I love music. I love the idea, but the idea of trying to pursue music or film, because at that age I was obsessed with everything. I was obsessed with film and music and maybe a little bit of acting, a bit of everything. And I remember reading that Hurtwood prospectus and just thinking, wowzers, this is incredible. What could you know?
Yeah, it can unlock that creativity that you had.
Yeah, it just felt really amazing. It felt like this whole other world, that everything was in black and white, and this is in color. And what can you do here? The possibilities are endless. So it was amazing. Coming here, and the world is your oyster. There's these amazing music rooms. There's this incredible theatre. There's an incredible media. It was amazing actually, and it really opened my eyes to everything.
I love that phrase there. Everything seems in black and white, and you come here and everything's full of colour. I think it's just such a great way to describe it. I love that. So how did you find out about Hurtwood then? You mentioned reading the wonderful endless opportunities in front of you. How did you find out about it?
I think my mum found out about it, and she said, this place looks right up your street.
Yeah.
And she gave me this prospectus, and I was like, yes, it really does. And I remember being really excited about it for the whole time. And then arriving here, it was the most wonderful 2 years.
I can see your passion for the place, and the fact that you've come back to speak to students in the past and you come back to do this today. I feel exactly the same. It's so lucky to still be part of my life.
Yeah.
Do you have a standout memory from your 2 years here? It doesn't even have to be music related. Just anything. There's so many things I know. If I told you to kind of pick out one, when someone says, "What was Hurtwood like?" What do you say?
I just think the sense of the community and the being part of people, and that's something I really treasure to this day in all walks of life. I think being part of something, being together with people, and I was in B-Web, and coming here and really feeling part of togetherness. I not sort of being on this big downer on this grammar school I went to, but you were just your own person there, and it was that, and it felt like in that whole old school world of, I don't do sport and I'm not very cleverly academic. So actually I was just sort of the geeky guy that liked music and film stuff. So coming here with people that didn't matter what you were like. It didn't matter how academic you were or how sporty you were or how filmy you were or how music you were. No one gave this.
Yeah.
So
yes.
it's it's about you and about being together and fitting together. And I never really felt like I fit in. And then overnight, I just had this amazing group of people that was just, I mean, that's just, you can't
buy that.
You can't buy it.
You're absolutely right. And I think I don't know much about the music industry, but all the collaborations that you've gone on to do, it is about working together, isn't it?
You know what? Like, it's, the more I've done this, the more I've kind of gone on, actually, I'd say, especially when I'm collaborating with people, sometimes like 70% of the work is just chatting.
Yeah.
Just talking and geeking out, talking about anything that isn't what you're doing. And then it's that other 30% of the time that is that real spark, because you're with someone and working with someone that's amazing. That's what I love. So that's, I guess, thinking about it, that's kind of what, being here, it's what really teaches you that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that as well because I've got your score report, so I've read about your time here.
I've worried about this.
Yes,
having listened to previous episodes.
He's a fan of the show. He knew it was coming. I've got it here, and do you know what? I've also, it's all handwritten. It's like photocopies, so you can have a little look after.
Yeah.
But what I love about reading this morning is there's a journey. If we've got like the first half term you did here to the kind of goodbye thing, and I want to read a couple of bits because all the things you said about finding that community, finding your place, I suppose, maybe that's fair to say, is evident in what your teachers and people have been writing about. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but it says that Alex needs to increase his somewhat inconsistent effort in English. He's genuinely impressed in his academic performance so far. He is organised and determined and seems to be enjoying Hurtwood. So that was the first half term. By the end of it, oh, wowzers. We had reached the top. This was the end of year one. Alex has done extremely well to survive yet another grueling term. I congratulate him for the selfless way he has approached all of his commitments. He is certainly making the most of his time with us, and I'm very grateful for all the hard work he puts into the sound for the shows. Many thanks, Alex. So we were starting the sounds journey at the end of year one. But by the end of it, listen to this. I must say that it's given me great personal pleasure to see Alex putting so much into his life at Hurtwood and making such splendid progress in every respect. He has made a massive success of his career here, and I'd like to commend him for his hard work and thank him for making such a great contribution to our community, especially in the theatre and music departments, where he's shown tireless enthusiasm and great professionalism. What will we do without him? We'll certainly miss him.
Oh, I would have cried.
They're all from Richard, I believe, who has written them. But
Who
like
wrote that, sorry?
Richard, all three of
Richard,
those.
oh,
Yes.
really?
So we've heard that journey. Do you know what I mean? That first half term, you're enjoying it. By the end of it, you are enthusiastic about every part of it. And the word community comes up time and time again, which is what you've been saying. You can cry. It would be really good for the viewing numbers. And what did you study academically here for your A-levels?
I think I did English, media, and theatre.
Yeah.
Did I do something else in the? It was like AS and A levels. Like, it was like it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think those are the three. I don't know if I did something.
But a nice balance, is I was going to say. But also on top of that, you're
some music tech, of course, dickhead.
music tech, very important.
Don't tell Dave Parsons I forgot.
We'll definitely keep that in. But all of those different subjects are particularly music tech, particularly theatre, media, lots of coursework, lots of like actual hands-on things to do. So you're very busy. What extracurricular things did you throw yourself into? We saw in the report there about the sound for the shows.
Yeah, I remember sort of sheepishly coming up to Dave Parsons' music department, and when they were talking about at the very beginning of sort of talking about making and doing shows and things, and saying, look, I sort of did a little bit of lighting stuff in my art school, but I think I really want to try it. And he was like, great. And it's sort of the whole ethos of this place is just let's throw you in like that. You're interested in that? Let's do it. Let's figure it out. And he did. So I sort of was by his side and sort of he helped me show the ropes of sound. And that's my first sort of experience in doing sound for the music. Obviously not doing sound. With Dave did. We're really working and playing with and helping with the levels and he was really sort of he gave a lot of freedom to go. Look, this is it. You run this show now. You do it. And it's mind-boggling because you have this incredible, basically West End kind of standard show.
What I was going to say, that the desk you're even working on, things like that. I mean, that's really, it's industry level, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. Like it's amazing, really, and just to have that, being in that space and being with that again, sort of being in that part of community of theatre, and that sort of gave me this absolute love of that medium of kind of working in theatre.
Yeah,
which never really went away.
Yeah, and that was my next question, was how did Hurtwood shape that passion of music? But you've kind of just said it there, is it being immersed in it and being involved all of the time in these kind of things?
Yeah, and I think so, like really just to just a love for it. I kind of think, forgive me, I'm going off on it. I think like words like talent and like inbuilt thing. I kind of think that's. I think it's nothing. I think that doesn't. I think what exists is just raw like love and passion and obsession with it. Because I think with music, with acting, with art, I think we do it because we love it and we're obsessed with it, and we get better at it by just doing it and learning my mistakes and doing it. And I think that's what was instilled. I think that's the beginnings of it is like, actually this is a love for it. Like this is, it's not about this is how you do it this way. It's about, let's show you a way of doing it, let's show you, and now make your own way of doing it. Like find out how you can get ahead, how you can work out what you want to do, what you love. So I worked on the sound, and I was of course played music. So I think I was in some of the music concerts with my songs, and I just really loved it. Like it was just lovely sort of being a part of that whole theatre world, the whole media world, and going off and making films and doing this. Like it was was such an eye opener that all that was possible. And I could imagine not coming here and staying at Black and White Grammar School and sort of coming out with an uninspiring English A level, and I'm not really knowing what to do. But like it really set me up to go, this is amazing. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, and it's about that passion, isn't it? By having the passion, everyone has that when they come here, because that's potentially why they do come here. But what Hurtwood allows is to unlock ways that you can that become your job and become your career. So in that vein, if we were to bump into a student who's doing music tech today or has those similar passions, there's no right way to do it, which is what you've just said. But what advice would you give directly to them, I suppose, when they leave? Perhaps
just absorb everything.
Right.
Like this is what you want to do. There's no shortcut to this kind of thing. It's, there's people that at the top of their game in music or in film or anything. Like I get really obsessed with reading biographies of composers and musicians and filmmakers. I think it's really interesting that people look very successful, but how did they? It looks very easy. It's like for people, you look at my website, like everyone, it looks very easy. All these lovely credits, but there's not that your website doesn't tell you all the crap you went through to get there, and all the rejection, or the rubbish, or the attempting to do things but couldn't do things. It's such a, being in the creative industries is such a journey, and I spend a lot of time doing things for no money, doing theatre shows above pubs, doing things like, but like really learning your craft every day and learning and getting better. It's by now the music tech student probably bored and looking at
way.
but yeah, no, I think so that's kind of what I'm really passionate about is actually there is no shortcut. There is no it's a real passion,
a labour of love, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's I guess it's one of the things I slightly not worry about, but now everything is so immediate now. Like as in I can go on and listen to any song I want. I can get any information I want. I can look at any video I want. I can see this, and I can do that. And there's clever software now where I can press a button and it makes the sounds incredible. And everything is so immediate, and so we get to the point where you can type in a prompt and it can come up with some music, come up with a script, come up with stuff, and it's like, but what is not immediate is your process, and like finding the kind of creative person that you are, and by taking all that away, like what can you do that say that's you, that's not trying to say, if you write a piece of music on a piano instead of having a nice bit of software that presses a button and makes all this stuff, what if you just played it on a piano? How will that emotionally connect with you? Like how can you get rid of that technology and still emotionally? I think that's
the key to music, I think, isn't it? It's someone that doesn't know a whole lot about it, but I listen to loads of music. It's what it does to you emotionally, which I don't think a robot or AI can ever replace.
And filmmaking and acting and everything. Like I find the process of people being really creative and like really, really interesting. I think everyone has their own ways of doing it, but like I say, it's just not an immediate thing. It's like it's a passionate thing that you just have to get totally obsessed with.
Yes.
A long time, and one day someone might pay you for doing it.
Well, let's talk about that journey since Hurtwood then, and that labour of love as it is. Talk to me about the immediate kind of months or moments after you left the school. How did you get that immediate time? Because I think sometimes I felt it as well, that you leave a place like this and you're like, oh God.
Oh, it's a huge culture shock.
Oh my God, what's going to happen?
You've been living in this wonderful world in the country and overlooking this amazing view, and
next thing you're selling demos in London. It's like, oh.
So I was through being here, and I found out about a university called Liverpool performing arts. Paul McCartney's Old School, and I was like, I really want to go there, and I was in a way it was stupid. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have anything. I was like, that's. And I've sort of looking back on my life, a few big things I've gone, well, I'm just going to do that, and not really had a backup plan. But in a way, that's kind of good because you can't.
You're just following your passion, aren't you? Which is what we've spoken about.
So I applied for LIPA and really worked at. We had to do some demos for LIPA, show your ability in recording and playing, and luckily I got in, and I was so happy about that because it's that specialist place of amazing place to really hone your art in recording, and they have it's quite, in a way it's quite similar to Hurtwood in the fact it's got music department and dance department, media and music, and it was sort of that step up of further education, if that makes sense. And I sort of really relished that, and it's sort of, I think, between sort of Hurtwood and then going to LIPA, it really instilled this amazing thing. But I wouldn't have got into LIPA without
Hurtwood. Exactly, and it does do that in terms of drama schools and things for lots of students. So the experiences you've got here, then what you've got at LIPA, you then go into the industry and start kind of grafting and things like that. What I'm really interested to find out is the process of writing a piece of music, scoring a soundtrack. What is the process? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh my god, that's how it's going to start? Or talk me through a process. If we were going to write something right now, how would we begin?
So that's a big question.
It is a big question.
And I think again, I think that's a process that has changed over the years. I think because I haven't been doing this for 20 years or so, like less than. So now I think I'm really obsessed with music as sort of telling a story. I think especially in the world of film and the world of even just writing a piece of music for a classical musician. Like I'm lucky to sort of work in lots of different elements and dance. But everything seems to come back now to the sense of writing a story. I love the idea of creating a film and writing music for a film. I think when I was in my 20s, I thought, writing music for a film, that's a tense bit and that's a happy bit, we'll just do that. Well, actually, the more I've worked, the more I've loved doing what I've done, I've realised that the music has got to go on the same journey as a character. A character is connected to a thematically or a piece of music, a way that you as a composer need to convey what this character is going through from the beginning of their journey to the end, and how that music interacts with other characters. I get really obsessed with finding ways of creating a score that isn't just happy bit, sad bit, and the score. So in a way that you sort of you listen to a score on Spotify or whatever, and you can sort of hear how the film develops from the beginning to the end.
Watching it,
that's sort of my process about
yes, it does. So at the core, it's about storytelling. But then, cause I will go through your website CV because it's so fantastic. I've got it here in a second. But you've also done things like commercials as well. But even for that, there's a story. It's just much shorter form.
Yeah, you know what? Like as a musician, as a composer, of course, you have to sell yourself. So that there's always for every lovely art house, beautiful film that is wonderful. There's 10 ads you've got to do or a big thing. Like there's I think learning to be really, really varied is really important, I think.
Yes.
And ads actually really taught me that, because I think especially as a young composer, ads were really helpful because they were my first sort of bits of paychecks that I could help. They can, and you're sort of trying to tell a story in 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah.
And so it started off doing little foods for Imodium, not food, music for Imodium, and
yes,
and Blue Dragon, like the
the sauces.
Lovely, I think that was my first ad I ever did, and I genuinely was expecting like a box of Blue Dragon sauce, and it never came.
Oh no, we'll have to reach out.
But that was a long time ago. That sort of developed, and I ended up making this niche of doing music for Christmas ads.
Well, you did the 2024 Sainsbury's one.
Yeah, I think over the years I've done sort of every supermarket, everything. But it's really something really interesting, like writing music for a 2-minute ad, because you tell so much story in this time of that sort of the ups and downs, and because it's Christmas, it needs to be heartfelt. But
it is a story, those adverts, aren't they? And I know they're massive things, particularly for supermarkets. It is I always see it as a very short film. In that 2 minutes, by the end of it, you're crying and then you're going to their shop.
They spend so much money. Like like the one, the most recent one I did, the Sainsbury's with the BFG. I mean, going to Abbey Road with a 50-piece orchestra was tens of thousands of pounds
For an advert.
And I, having that just before that, having done an art house film, the whole entire music budget was much less than
that. Yeah.
A fraction of that. So I find that really. But going back to your point, actually, doing music for an ad is really interesting because it taught me so much about creating that story, that journey. And so when I went and did music for long form films or short films or even a series, so you're across 6 episodes or 8 episodes, it's still that same sort of journey, that same sort of arc. So I think, the thing I learned very early on was not to poo-poo anything, like just do anything and just jump in, whether you're inspired or not, like get inspired, like and just go in feet first and learn on the job. If someone says, can you do this? And the answer is no. You go, yes.
Yes, exactly.
And then you go back and you learn how the heck to do it.
Well, you have brought so many stories to life over your career thus far. We're going to listen to some of your different pieces of music. So let's take a little listen to this.
Wowzers.
Tennant minus Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen, nevertheless. David Tennant.
David Tennant, notwithstanding Michael Sheen.
David Tennant and Martin Sheen.
How about Judi Dench introduces Michael Sheen and David Tennant?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yep.
I remember being in a scrap about billing once.
How did you resolve it?
We had to recite the quality of mirth.
Just adjusting, you all right?
Khaki hoch!
Khaki hoch!
Khaki
Khaki hoch!
Khaki hoch!
Total blooming disaster.
Jeez, Mummy. Fancy doing it, lad. Out the way.
Alex, some amazing pieces there. Let me ask you this. Of all the different things you've done, it could even be because of the music or because of a time in your life, do you have a most memorable, a favourite, or something that means something to you the most?
I think that changes every day.
Does it?
Yeah, like I think I've just been so lucky. And I think it's interesting because you sort of look back on a CV and, like I said before, something CVs look so easy. It's like, oh, you did that, you jumped to that, you jumped. Of course, it's not either. There's so much heartache and trying to find it. And I remember so much about everything like that. I think the things that are the real pinch me moments are when you're working with people that are so inspiring and inspire you, and you somehow inspire them slightly. And that's what I really love. And whether it's working with, I was being very lucky. I've worked with some bands, and sometimes a band called the XX that I loved their music dearly, and they say, well, look, we've got this 90-piece orchestra, can you just remix our music for that? And you think, well, yes,
obviously, I love you guys.
And then you have working on films, like I did a film a year or two ago with like Daniel Kaluuya, who's this incredible actor.
Is that the Netflix?
It's called The Kitchen.
Dystopian. Well, yes, yeah.
And it's just like such a privilege to be in the room with and they're working with a musician called Labyrinth, who's this incredible, just a creative guy who sort of, this guy sort of produces Beyonce and all this stuff, does the amazing things. And so with him, kind of gone on journeys, and we did a big, he did a big Coachella gig, so we did Billie Eilish and all these people, and so I sort of arranged all the orchestral bits for them. And they just sort of pinch me moments of like, this is amazing. Or even just sometimes my favourite pieces have been little bits of theatre in sort of pop-up bits of London that no one really saw, but you're just so proud of it because it just feels like I love the mixture, and I love how it's different. Every project's different, and you're only as good as your last job. Like the day I feel like I'm sort of calling it in a bit and just doing something a bit similar to what I did before, I think that's the day to kind of get the slippers on
to pack up.
do something else.
But all those amazing things you mentioned, I know because I've got them here. As you're saying, but the list you read there is incredible. And with Labyrinth, you've done a few different things, as you mentioned there. I love the 60s music biopic, Midas Man. That's about the Beatles manager, isn't it? So such an iconic, person or people in terms of the Beatles and music. To work on something like that must be like ridiculous. You mentioned the Coachella thing there with Billie Eilish and Zendaya. You've done shows for Valentino and Cartier as well.
Crazy, really.
This is unbelievable. I hope they sent you boxes of stuff, unlike Blue Dragon. We've got to reach out for these kind of things. And you mentioned, of course, the commercials. You've also worked with the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra. Every time I see them on TV, and they obviously pop up on lots of different things, I get so inspired. What is it like working with musicians at that level?
Oh, I'm being very lucky to work with quite a lot of orchestras, and I never take it for granted. And I it's that sort of sense of story, and like recording orchestras is one of the most expensive things you can do in music.
I've worked with the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra on Eurovision in Liverpool, and we could only afford them for one rehearsal on the live show.
Yeah, I mean,
not the whole week rehearsals.
There's the as to it is right. People are paid properly, and the things with the MU is you have a sort of a certain time of 3 hours or 2 hours, and if you literally go 30 seconds over, you're then due to pay
overtime.
It's an incredible stressful thing to do. So people like get quite fraught with me, because especially if I'm working on a film that is quite heartfelt and quite emotional, I really want to tell the story of the music. I love sort of stopping the session, not stopping the session, but sort of coming out into the studio and talking to the orchestra about, this is what this is about, this incredibly emotional moment about this boy, and he's mourning the death of this. Like, I really want to tell the musicians that, because it's very easy as a musician to kind of sit in a studio and just, I'll play this note, but really understanding what they're playing and why they're playing it, I think is really important. But of course, understand your time when
you got someone going.
But I feel like if you do 2 takes that are really heartfelt compared to 4 or 5 takes that actually are just playing the dots on the page, so that's why so what was the question again?
No, the question was about them. What is it like to work with kind of musicians at that level? But
absolutely. Like it's that, and that's just it, because they're incredible. Because I think the thing about musicians, especially in this country, is we have this incredible lineage of people. The people that, like, it's such a big thing of they're playing all the time, and it's you can put notes in front of a page and people will just play it straight away, and it's amazing, and it's mind-boggling, like the quality of talent we have in musicians and orchestras. And I think it's so important we keep that. And I think it's amazing that film music especially is keeping that alive, employing all these different people,
which is fantastic. In terms of, we've spoken about films, I know you've done some BBC Three stuff at the David Tennant thing, the comedy series, or you worked on that?
That was sort of was that
last year or the year prior?
It was actually in the pandemic.
Oh, was it? Because it was on Zoom, was it? So I was due to be doing a theatre productions as music theatre, and I was due to be starting production at the RSC. Was it Cambridge? Not Cambridge, Chichester. I was due to be starting production, and then it got cancelled because of Zoom. And the director Simon was like, "I've got all this work I was meant to do, and it's been cancelled." And so the head of Chichester Festival Theatre said to Simon, "Why don't you just start rehearsing on Zoom or something, to keep it alive?" And it sort of gave him this idea of writing this comedy on. It was all filmed online, on Zoom about rehearsing this play, and he sort of got David Tennant involved and Michael Sheen, and of course everyone was sat in doing nothing
all around the world. So that first series had Judi Dench in and Samuel L. Jackson in, and like all these incredible people, because they were all on. And then then we did a second series of the second lockdown, which is sort of a meta version of. So we filmed a series in lockdown, and this is now, and like it's really funny.
I've seen clips of it actually.
It's a really good series,
really well done. But all these different things, as you say, building experiences. The key to it, is that storytelling. But if we look back at Hurtwood and think about that first experience you had with Dave Parsons in a theatre, because you've done some theatre stuff as well. You were
done a lot of theatre.
There's a lot of theatre stuff. Tony Award nominee as well. Yeah. Tell me about that, because that is just the most incredible thing, working on professional productions like that. And then weird that, because we've had that conversation today, that all started just a few metres down
it's amazing, and it doesn't really you change your mindset. It's just learning and it's just keep doing it. And I think I had this love of theatre from being here. I sort of didn't really do any theatre work at all when I was at LIPA, and then when I graduated, and only when I started looking, one of my first things I did was after graduating and went travelling for a bit, I sort of had, what do I do now? So I just researched and just looked at every composer agent, like what are people doing? How do they do it? What is the key to how do I do this? And I remember meeting quite a few different composers, and I met an agent. She said, "Oh, why do you do music for theatre?" And I thought, it's not a musical. Like, why do you write music for plays?
Yeah.
I didn't really think about this being a thing, and so I ended up assisting a composer who was doing a big production at the National Theatre, South Bank, and it was one of the most eye-opening experiences. It was just lovely. It was like being back at Hurtwood, but on this huge scale in this amphitheatre of, and it was amazing. But I felt in love and being in my comfort zone because I was in this. Again, there's that sense of community in the theatre. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone
Really
wants to make it wonderful. And so I was really lucky. And then actually, I assisted a few composers at the National, and then really luckily, there was a show in the then called the Cottesloe, so called the Dorfman, little smallest theatre, and they were looking for a composer. They offered for like 8 people. They all said no, but they're like, well, Alex is here. He's been quite helpful. That it's so I got there. It was directed by a guy called Rupert Gould, who is one of the most inspiring directors ever. He runs the Armida now. I think it's just about to run the Old Nick, I think. But
yes,
and he's directed films, but a really incredibly creative guy, and asking me to do weird arrangements of Goldfrapp tunes for like children's instruments, like all this really eye-opening. Like this is amazing. Like being at the National Theatre, doing this crazy show, that I could just let rip out with music, and then after that, so the head of the National Theatre, Sir Nicholas Heitner, basically saw that, and he was doing a Hamlet in the main space, and was like, oh, you're young and keen, and
you'll do it.
You come in here. So I'd kind of gone from being quite young and just being really interested and keen and loving it and just loving every single moment being in the theatre kind of really helped me sort of people going, oh yeah, you're good to have around, we'll keep you here, why don't you come and do this? And
yeah, but you keep saying there, oh, I was really lucky, but I think you've certainly earned that luck, and you have such a passion, and you've got to get into these spaces, and I think this would be great advice for anyone that's trying to do it. Just get in, do any kind of job within there just to be around it, right?
I absolutely agreed. Like, I think it's a real, this industry, as we all know, it's so much of it is sort of being in the right place at the right time, but it's about the point is getting to that place, like you said, sort of being there, making yourself indispensable, being in people's heads. So actually, when that opportunity does come around, you're in someone's head, rather than someone else. I remember going to a BAFTA talk with Christopher Nolan, the amazing director, who's and I remember it really made a big impression on me, which he sort of said when I made my first short film, and it was a success. Everyone said, well, what's next? And he had the foresight to go, this is next, like being in the right place, you're making the most of every opportunity that you can make, and
not looking too far ahead. Is that?
Yeah. And I think that's really important. And I think the best connections I made throughout my whole life have been in the pub after a show,
right? Or
doing, or people have seen what you've done and they really like that, or someone have been talking over coffee with someone and said, oh, I really love working with this guy, and then maybe they could. Like, it's all about that. Like, it's about the connections and being the person that you are that people want to collaborate with, I think, most.
Yeah. So getting yourself in those rooms, those situations, and then just doing anything. Just fantastic bit of advice. Yeah. So theatre, Tony Award nominee. You also nominated for Breakthrough Composer of the Year by the International Film Music Critics Association.
I think awards are like...
So, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Do they mean things?
No.
So you weren't...
It's so fickle.
Oh,
I think I don't want to swear, but no. But of course, of course, you never. I think a lot of the industry is very, especially when you get higher up, producers and ideas. People want validation for you as a creator. When I speak to young composers, I start to think, if you're a composer on a film, this is multi-million pound film. You're in effect the CEO of a huge department with tens, hundreds of thousands of pounds of budget. Is my responsibility to pay for the orchestra, to pay for the mixing, to pay for this, to pay for, everything is, it's a huge, big thing. And
that's validation enough. Is that what you're saying? That you're
sadly not. So I think people say, oh, you've been nominated for a BAFTA, you've been nominated for that, you've won this. I've lost out jobs for people just because they've had Oscars and I haven't, and like that and not to say that. I mean, of course, it's that sounds like I'm being really petty, and I'm being
No,
really,
it doesn't. It doesn't.
But as in it's for, it's you could be. Actually, when it comes down to it, the person with the money is like, okay, the director really wants to vote this person, but actually this person's got the Oscar, so no, we'll just go with you. And it's sort of like, but that happens, and I think, but Oscar, then of course you do other things and you work with other people. That sounds like I'm being really petty.
It doesn't, but I suppose my question, for example, if someone called me and said, James, you're nominated for a Tony, it'd be all over me Instagram. We'd tell everyone everywhere.
But what was interesting about that show, and I was so proud, it was a brilliant show called The Cripple of Inishmaan, and it was in the West End, and it went to Broadway, it had Daniel Radcliffe in it, and a brilliant director called Michael Grandage, and he, the show was actually nominated for quite a few Tony, but it's going to sound quite, but almost the first meeting we had of going to Broadway. So the first meeting is sort of like, this is when the Tony nominations come out. This is when the stuff, like,
it's always the plan.
It's sort of like and it's the same with BAFTAs and Oscars. Like, people have a plan before they've started making, kind of thing. It's very sort of like, not to go to, I'm very proud of it, and
yes, it's interesting.
That show itself, as a sound design show, like, it was kind of, there was some seagulls. I did some nice music, but as far as sound design, it wasn't the most elaborate, incredible, creative. Sound design. So I think what that made me realise was that it's not to take anything away of being nominated for a big award, but not to get any big ideas that I'm now this big shot guy. But then what was quite frustrating was that suddenly doors were opened that, frustrating is not the word. It's wonderful that doors are open that maybe people weren't returning your calls, but now suddenly they are. But that was quite frustrating. Going, well, I'm no different now.
I'm the same person.
So that's why I'm being slightly cynical about awards. I think the idea is, there's this great thing of, I think Matt Damon said he won his Oscar when he was like in his 20s, and he got back home and he realised, like, thank God I've won this now, because actually it's not about this.
No,
people work their whole life and career and in their 80s to kind of desperate to kind of get this big recognition, but actually I think it's about doing what you're doing and your passion for it, and like, I think the recognition and the love, the ideas of doing what you do and what you love, and that's more important. I'm
not going to ask you what's next because we live in the present, but I do know later this year you're releasing your first full-length artist album. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you? Well, maybe you can't, but what can you tell us about that?
No, it's actually a piece. It's so I really I just feel very lucky that I can write music alongside anything. Like, I ended up writing some music a few years ago that was recorded with a big orchestra, but it didn't really end up seeing the light of day, and so now I'm going to release it.
Oh, release it.
That makes sense.
Yes, actually, the things that never quite made it, we're going to do a nice little album as well, into
Basically,
a film or something like that.
It's so it's, but I get really upset that it's the whole, I think what I've said about before, about learning, and like, I'm really lucky that I have this wonderful room at the studio where it's just filled with instruments and microphones and things that inspire me, and it's just, if something's not working, if a project's been delayed, I love the idea of just being able to go, right, I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to write something.
Yeah. Is that at home with you? You've got that studio with you?
I do, and I love working at home. Like, a lot of friends of mine have studios elsewhere because they need to get out. But actually, I really, I love being able to sort of come back and go to it. I have a couple of young kids, and I feel being really present with them it's like the reason why I do it. I love that, and I love that I can just stop and give the kids a bath time and then come back to it, or this.
Great.
Actually, I feel like I want to be very present, and that's what I really love about having a studio at home, is that I can do that. And it also means they're not out of it. They love kind of coming in and bashing things.
Yeah, they can be part of the soundtrack. Perhaps.
I've actually given my oldest kid, he's got a couple of credits on IMDb, like just from
very good.
Things.
Get a triangle in the background. And listen, Alex, it's been brilliant having you back today. Before we wrap this up, let's kind of bring it back to Hurtwood, where you stood up there with Dave Parsons and did your first kind of real bit of sound in theatre. What would your advice to be to someone that is at a grammar school, perhaps, like you were, just looking to unlock that creativity? The question is, why Hurtwood? Why should someone pick this for them?
It's a good question. I think it's sort of, in a way, it sort of speaks. It's just such a wonderful. I was so inspired coming here, just looking around, and then having the privilege of being here for a couple of years. It just being able to go, not have any roadblocks in front of you. I feel like as children growing up, so often so much of it is, oh, you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you can't do, the idea of coming here and well, you can put on a show, do this. I remember in our first couple of weeks being here, I think Emily Blunt and Andy Durden had done a show at the Edinburgh Fringe, and they came and they performed it for like all the freshers. I remember being absolutely blown away. You know, Emily being Emily is amazing, and I remember seeing in that wonderful theatre and being really moved by this thing that they had taken to Edinburgh. Like, it was a little musical. It was just a two-hander.
Yeah.
Called Bliss, and it was amazing. And Andy was my piano teacher here, and obviously Emily was in year above. But it just felt like, you can do this here. This is amazing, and I felt like it was a really inspiring thing to just go, look, like, just if you want to do something, just do it. If you want to try and work out how sound works, you want to try, there's a MIDI suite, you can go and write some like, it was in the MIDI suite here was the first time I ever wrote music to picture. I remember sort of playing around with this video he was given about writing music for trains, and like, that's basically what I do now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's no different. You know, Dave and a teacher called James Tunstall was here at the time, were amazing at just kind of showing and going, this is how you do. You know, learn what you do. Like, so I feel like it's about having the opportunity to think, well, what can I do? Like, where can I shine? Where can I sort of get?
So if you've got those passions, you can come here, and the opportunities are there for you to literally just try it.
I think so, and it's such a privileged position to be in. Really, like, it's not something to take for granted. I think there's so many people that maybe that kind of opportunity is not available to them. And I think that's a really important thing as well. I think, especially working and trying to support as many young people as get, but I think it's really important to have, if an opportunity can come up that you can come and do this and your passion, then
do it.
Absolutely grab it and don't take anything for granted.
Yeah, and it seems that you grabbed the opportunity perfectly here and have every single day since you've left us. You've been amazing. Round of applause one more time for Alex, everyone.
We really hope you're enjoying the second series of Hurtwood Beyond the Hill. Remember, if you'd like to watch any of our previous episodes, you can check them out on Hurtwood's YouTube channel, or just listen wherever you get your podcasts.